Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and before I get into the video, I want to say that I was provided with a code by Square Enix for Infinity Strash Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai for the Xbox Series X. Even though I was provided a code, all the thoughts in this video are entirely my own. First, you should probably know what this Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai is. And it was originally a manga written all the way back in the 1990s by Riko Sanjo, and got two anime adaptations, one in the early 90s and one in 2020-22. While it doesn't follow any previous Dragon Quest games' story, it could easily have been a game because of all the tropes and elements that are present in the games. Okay, back to the game. This aims to retell the story as it was in the newest anime, even with shots from that anime. This game is out on the Xbox Series, PS4, PS5, Switch, even PC. Man, I wish every Dragon Quest game would come out on this May systems on release. Since this is a first thoughts video, I will only be talking about the story throughout the first chapter, even though I am planning on reviewing the entire game once I finish it, so please look forward to that. Anyway, let's get into the game. So once you start the game, you're told a lot of exposition on the world of this game and the origins of one powerful entity, the Dragon Knight. Basically the gods of humanity, darklings, and dragons. In this world, dragons used to be their own thing, but as time progressed, they've basically become monsters. But all of those gods came together to create one being who had aspects of all of them to make sure that no one would be able to dominate the world. Usually there's only supposed to be one per generation, however there are two, Baron and Dai. Now this scene takes place in about the middle of the series when Dai learns that he is a Dragon Knight, though the audience knows Dai is a Dragon Knight from like the first couple episodes, so it isn't really a spoiler. So Baron, the other Dragon Knight, wants Dai to join him and the Dark Army to eradicate humanity. Though Dai of course doesn't take his offer and fights him. And here's our first fight of the game. So it's an action-based game, so you're able to attack and do a couple special moves, while also being able to dodge and attack. As the fight progresses, you learn about coup de grace and unleashing Dai's Dragon Crest to really power up. Bosses also have a break gauge that once you run down allows you to get in a lot of hits. Though since this is the first fight in the game, there really isn't a lot you can really do here, especially since Baron is really powerful. He unleashes a different kind of attack and resonates his crest with Dai's, making it so Dai completely loses his memory. Something that also happens in the anime. So yeah, the game has you play what has previously happened as Dai is recalling his memories, which is an interesting way to cover what leads up to this point in the story. I guess they really wanted to do more than what Dai's memory loss meant in the anime. Like, it was a pretty big event, but this game's making it seem like a much bigger deal. I just don't see why they didn't start the game from the beginning like the anime did, but it's honestly whatever. So on to chapter 1. Now missions are composed of one of three quests. They can either be story quests, where they contain both plot and combat, free quests, which are only combat and seem to be like optional side quests, and adventure quests, which only contain plot. And chapter 1 is filled with way too many adventure quests. Adventure quests tell the story of the anime, with stills from the anime, with some movement to make them not totally boring, but they are pretty boring. Though this could have been a lot worse if they stuck on the images for too long. Now I really like the anime, and seeing the story being retold like this is kind of cool, but I have to imagine for players who have never watched The Adventure of Dai, this is a bad way of seeing the story. It skips around a lot, and where I would have thought there would be a playable segments like Dai finding the fake hero party, or even meeting Leona, a very important character to both the story and Dai, it's just in these cutscenes. It's mostly the narrator of the show narrating what's happening, though for some scenes they do have the characters actually speak, which is nice. And I have to say, I'm really glad they either got them back or used the voice acting from the anime. I watched the English dub and enjoyed it, and it's really nice to hear them all return. I'm not sure if they got them back to record new lines or if they just took them all from the show, but I'm happy either way. Anyway, to summarize what's happening in these cutscenes, Dai defeats the fake hero party and becomes the new hero by the king, and then meets Leona and saves her too. We learn that the Dark Lord has returned and is once again causing all the monsters to go berserk. Because on this island all the monsters are nice, but then Yvonne comes to cast Glimmer on the island to protect the monsters. And this Yvonne guy is basically a tutor who teaches his students on how to become the best hero they can be. Also, Pop is here, but he doesn't say anything. Then we have a training montage that totally should have been a playable mission, allowing the players to learn the game's mechanics and connect with Pop. We actually do get a little bit of playable training. Yvonne teaches Dai about his different slash techniques, the main ones being Earth and Wind Slash, and to make sure he understands it, Yvonne uses the Puff spell to become a dragon. So now we have to fight Yvonne as a dragon. And he'll even get used to Wind Slash to stop his Flame Breath attack from continuing, which is cool and also something that happens multiple times within the show. And despite all of our attacks, we are able to only do a little slash on his nose. After transforming back, something shakes the ground, with a Dark Lord Hadlar breaking into the magical circle to face Yvonne. Turns out Yvonne was the last hero who killed Hadlar. However, while Yvonne was teaching his students, Hadlar had been revived by the Dark King Vern, and Hadlar is the one who now leads Vern's Dark Army. Hadlar is here to get revenge on Yvonne for killing him, and while it's mentioned that Hadlar is much stronger than when Yvonne previously fought him, in the anime, Yvonne is weaker because the Puff spell took a lot of his energy, though it isn't mentioned in the game. I get that a lot of stuff like this needs to be cut out, but I really like that Yvonne training Dai led him to being at a disadvantage. Anyway, to make sure Dai, Pop, and Brass don't get hurt, Yvonne uses Keklang to turn them into steel statues, since Hadlar saw the students of Yvonne as a threat, and basically graduates Dai and Pop into real disciples of Yvonne. Though I think it's funny that Brass's skin color is already gray, and the filter on the cutscenes makes it really hard to tell that he's being transformed into steel. So despite Pop's pleading with Yvonne, he goes and casts one final attack, Magante, which instead of using magical power, uses his life force to blow up Hadlar in a really metal way. And despite casting the spell, Hadlar survives, with Yvonne nowhere to be seen. Now back to a story quest. With a 3D cutscene, Dai breaks out of the Keklang spell and faces Hadlar head-on. With the power of his crest, which appears in the moments when Dai is in need of strength, Dai is able to go head-to-head with Hadlar. Thankfully, we were actually able to play this fight, and after some fighting, Hadlar is ready for a final attack. Dai is able to pull off Yvonne's signature attack, the Infinity Strash, and Hadlar has to retreat. Dai and Pop then head off the island to go and stop Hadlar and the Dark King Vern, and that's chapter 1. Yeah, only 2 playable missions in an entire chapter, and it's not like chapter 1 doesn't have moments where you wouldn't be able to have missions, they just don't have them here, which is really disappointing, but whatever. I have played chapter 2, and it has a much better set of quests, with so many of them being story quests. The only fights we saw in chapter 1 were against bosses, but there are quests where you have to move across a linear map, fighting regular enemies like slimes and chimera, among many others seen in the games and anime. There are multiple playable characters in chapter 2, you get to play as Pop and even meet another character named Mam. While the basic setup for the gameplay is the same, they all have their own unique differences, like Pop is able to cast spells, and instead of having a Dragon Quest to charge up, he's able to charge and regain his spells much quicker, and Mam has a gun that she can shoot. They also gave her a staff for her main attacks, but unless I'm really forgetting something, I don't think she has that in the anime. But I am really happy that they were able to make all these characters unique enough, even though I haven't spent a ton of time with them. And I didn't mention it, but at the start of each mission, you're able to choose bond memories, which are like stat bonuses based off Dai's experiences and memories with his friends, which is pretty cool. You are also able to choose what special attacks you have, but since this is the start of the game, I don't have that many options. Now, I haven't talked about the free quests, which appear as you progress through the story as optional quests, and as you do objectives like defeat all the enemies. You can also change the costumes of the characters, which in the story quests you are locked to the canon costumes, and since Square Enix gave me the Deluxe Edition code, I'm able to put Dai and Pop into costumes that resemble the heroes from Dragon Quest III. The graphics of this game are pretty good, like they all follow the designs from the anime, and I absolutely love the animations, like the characters' coup de grace all have so much personality, but at least in the cutscene of Dai finding Hadlar, the colors just looked kind of off, and made them seem like the characters were made out of clay. I don't know, it's weird. And the anime even had fights be rendered in 3D for long action shots, but it just looks kind of off here. Not enough for me to really complain, especially since there aren't a ton of these cutscenes. I actually don't have this issue in the night cutscene, I thought it looked a lot closer to the anime here. Also, just as a side note, I really love Hadlar's design, especially when he takes his cloak off, he's like Sephiroth and Ganondorf combined. I said it before, but the anime shots are a bit disappointing, but they did make a lot to make them seem more dynamic than just a simple PowerPoint slide. Like in Yvonne's fight, you can put together where movement happens. I have seen other games where they'll just have one shot for way too long, and it's visually boring. Like yeah, I would prefer them to remake the cutscenes with the in-game engine, or just use the anime shots as is, but having to condense the story so much like that, I understand why they didn't. The filter is also a bit weird, but it's whatever to me. The music for this game is also taken straight out of the anime, and man, hearing the main theme on the main menu hit me hard. Like it hasn't been a long time since I finished the anime, but hearing that theme took me right back. Also, I really like all the voice actors, like I said before, I'm not really sure how many actually came back to record brand new lines, but I thought they all did a really good job, my favorite being Hadlar. I just think his voice actor Brian Drummond really gave his all. Like, I was so hyped when he was fighting Yvonne and Dai just because of his voice acting. Here are some of my favorite moments of Hadlar.
Such a joke, Yvonne! Hilarious! After you defeated me, I was brought before his throne, and he gave me a glorious new purpose. Goodbye, Yvonne! Oh, Yvonne, you truly have grown weak!
Also, this game tries to do some of the funny moments from the anime when possible. Like, they cut out a lot, but they kept this moment of Pop running away.
K-Pop, we are not gonna beat him if we fight head on. If you can cast some distraction, I think I can hit him. No way, thanks a lot.
For some reason, I still chuckled at it, even though I don't think it's as funny with still shots, but I think they did the best they could with their limits. But again, that's probably just me remembering it from the anime and liking it, rather than it being a really good moment from the game. Okay, now for some little things that I really like. I love how the loading image is just your current party. Like, it starts out as just Dai, but then you get Pop, and then Mam eventually joins. I also just really love how they're designed, like they're so cute. When you're setting out for quests, I really love how each character has their own animation. Honestly, all the animations in this game are just so good and full of life. The costumes in this game also seem to have their own animations, though I don't want to say each of them has their own animation, as I'm just not sure right now, but the legendary outfits do at the very least. I also love that for all of Pop's spells, he actually says the spells. He does this in the anime, and I really love that they just aren't afraid of it being Dragon Quest. They could have just had all the spells be nameless or changed the names, but I'm really glad they didn't. Dragon Quest spell names are really memorable and iconic. I also really like that the anime references Dragon Quest 1 by having Hadlar basically re-extend his offer for Yvonne to join him, like how the Dark Dragon in Dragon Quest 1 offered the hero the chance to roll by his side. I just think it's cool that it calls back to that, since you don't need to know that it's a reference to really get it. I just think it's cool that they put it in there. I thought it was interesting how they used Ai's memory loss as a plot device, but it was also kind of unnecessary, but I guess they really wanted to use memories as a theme for this game. My only complaint so far really seemed to be with the amount of cutscenes and how the story is told. Like, there is so much missing from the plot that they just cut out for time. Like in the anime, Pop is kind of disinterested in training as hard as Dai, and wants to take everything slower, but Yvonne dying is one of his motivations, but you don't see that in this game. There are a lot of little moments like that as a fan I really wish were here, because they really help grow the characters into the ones I love. It makes it hard to recommend this game to newcomers of the world of Dai, because you're getting a lesser experience. And it's not like the anime added in a lot of stuff or had weird pacing issues. I thought it was pretty well paced, with chapter 1 ending at episode 5, but I guess the first couple episodes are just cutscenes here. It really annoys me that this is the path that they chose, and I have played a bit of chapter 2 and it seems to be better with more missions you can actually play, but I will definitely talk about that in my full review once I play the game, because right now I'm not sure which chapter is accurate to the full game. Also, I have heard that this game doesn't cover the entire anime and goes up to only like episode 41, which is also weird. Like, are they doing DLC or another game? Again, I don't want to say for sure because I haven't beaten the game, but it's something to think about. Now, unlike other Square Enix games, this one doesn't have any sort of demo, which is weird because I think this game would have done well with a demo. Though I guess with the first chapter being 80% cutscenes, it might have not gone over well. And with this game being full price, it's hard to recommend right now, especially to newcomers. Though if you have seen the anime before and love the world and characters, I honestly think you'll enjoy it a lot. I mean, I loved being able to hear these guys again and play through moments of the anime. Also, I really wish we got to play as a fully powered up Yvonne fighting Hadlar. Okay, well, maybe not fully powered up, but you know what I mean. I get why they didn't because they need to add Yvonne as a playable character for this one moment, but it would have been really cool. If you're interested in this game but haven't seen the anime, I 100% recommend watching the anime, but if you only want to play the game, maybe wait for a sale. But again, these are only my first thoughts, and I will be doing a full review, so if you're already waiting to pick it up, maybe wait a bit longer for my full review. Thank you so much again to Square Enix for providing with a code for this game. I hope you enjoyed the video, have a good day, and goodbye!